Hey S'mores, I'm Shannon Morse. Welcome to Morse Code. I do tech reviews and tutorials, so if you are looking for in-depth tech and gadget content, you've come to the right place. This week, I am partnering with Waymo to share how they are building the world's most experienced driver. Now, I was fortunate enough to be invited down to Arizona back in 2019 to experience a Waymo ride up close and personal. Riders in areas where Waymo operates can download the Waymo One app and use Waymo's ride-hailing service to get picked up in a car that is operated by the Waymo Driver. That's the name of Waymo's fully autonomous driving technology. Now, when I took a ride with Waymo, it was autonomous and also operated by the Waymo Driver. There was a specialist sitting in the car with us to monitor the ride, but they did not control any aspect of the vehicle in any way. Now, the Waymo Driver has continued to improve since I last visited, and they have opened up the fully autonomous offerings to the general public using Waymo One as of fall 2020. Health and safety policies and procedures have also been enhanced through their own fully owned fleet, and Waymo works closely with teams, riders, partners, along with federal, state, and local authorities to advance the capabilities of the Waymo Driver. So all of this to say, Waymo's the first and currently only company to operate a commercial, fully autonomous ride-hailing service. So building upon the video that I did way back in 2019 with all the newness happening, I wanted to share how Waymo is implementing their technology to be the world's most experienced driver. I was invited to a Waymo roundtable to ask questions that have been on my brain for a while, and my main questions are always about security, privacy, and in this case, also safety. So Waymo is using so much technology behind the scenes. It's actually really impressive to create this experienced driver, not just on the road, but also using simulations. See, a human driver can only spend so much time on the road because you gotta sleep sometime. And there are only so many hours in the day, even for a Waymo driver. So real world experience is going to be limited by the fact that there are only 24 hours in a day. So how can the technology gain more experience? Well, they do this with simulations. And in this case, fully autonomous driving technology uses simulations to not only take generated test drives, but to also build in real-world factors that can change the Waymo driver's reactions. So this gives the Waymo driver hours upon hours of experience that it can use to predict behaviors of the environment around the vehicle whenever it's out on the road. So take this snippet, for example. Whenever the Waymo driver comes to a four-way stop and there's another vehicle there, what might that other vehicle do? Well, nobody can actually read the mind of a driver in that other car, but the fully autonomous driving technology can predict its behavior based on the environmental factors, taking all of the different options into account. So is the car in a turn lane? Then it probably has a high probability of turning. Is it in a straight lane? Then it will probably go straight. Will it make a U-turn? Maybe. We don't know. So the Waymo driver will determine the probability of certain actions and make a determination based on that behavior. There's a reason why I am comfortable getting in a vehicle operated by the Waymo driver technology, and that's because the computational power happening alongside all of the different sensors, like LiDAR and the cameras that are soaking up data from all around the vehicle, it's going to give the Waymo driver much more data to determine its actions than a human could do with our own two eyes. So I personally think that it's incredibly cool that the Waymo driver acts on an environmental change that I may not have even seen till I felt the car shift. That happened in 2019 actually. Somebody who was parallel parked on the side of the road opened their car door and the Waymo driver slowed slightly and then maneuvered around the car door and the person getting out faster than what I would have reacted to. Now, Waymo recently published a very interesting safety study as well about how a simulated Waymo driver performs with reconstructions of real-life fatal crashes taking place in the Chandler operating domain. So this can show how autonomous driving technology could improve road safety. And as somebody who has been hit by a woman driving a car while looking at her cell phone while I was the passenger on a motorcycle, it was scary. Ask me to tell you the story in the future. I feel like that human error would not happen with autonomous driving technology because the computer, it's not going to be looking at a cell phone while it's on a public road. Now, Waymo found that when the Waymo driver was the initiator, 100% of collisions were avoided. And then when it was the responder, 82% of collisions were avoided, with 10% of those being mitigated, but also the Waymo Driver was able to reduce likelihood of any kind of major injuries for drivers involved. I'll link to the full paper, the research, down below in the description because it's very interesting if you're into autonomous driving technology. So then there is this question, which is always brought to me when I talk about autonomous driving technology with like anybody that I converse with. If I am to use fully autonomous driving technology, how do I know that it won't get hacked? Who has access to my data? My real-life friends ask me this because they know that I go to HackerCons and I research this kind of stuff. So I say, good question, let's talk about it. So Waymo has this publicly accessible safety report where you can read up on some of the ways that they protect against malicious attacks or hacks. I'll link to that whole thing down below. So as an example, they consider the physical security of a vehicle, like potential access points, and they assess the possible risks. Waymo works with all of their OEM partners to identify and mitigate any of those kind of vulnerabilities. Since their technology goes through structured testing and simulations, those also contribute to the testing and validation. So for example, the software goes through a verification process whenever new releases are available, and they also identify and mitigate potential safety risks. So those physical attacks are definitely assessed solidly for mitigation, but what about remote attacks? So in this case, Waymo has built multiple layers of security to prevent outside access to servers or the vehicle. Security is a part of the design stage with layers of defenses to protect safety critical functions like steering, like braking from any kind of unauthorized communications, including the vehicle control commands. So they published their safety framework last October, and according to their safety report, quote, while on the road, all communications, e.g. redundant cellular connections, between the vehicles and Waymo are encrypted, including those between Waymo's operations support staff and their riders. The vehicles also don't rely on constant communication connections to operate safely. So if the Waymo driver notices any kind of abnormal behavior, this will trigger incident response procedures. Now, lastly, of course, with my channel is privacy, a big topic on this channel. Since Waymo is an Alphabet company, they use Google's infrastructure to support their operations, but customer personal information is not shared with Google outside of the service relationship. And Waymo is quite transparent about what kind of data they collect and how it's shared via their privacy policy, also linked down below. Y'all know I do my research. The discussion that I was able to have with Waymo was pretty eye-opening. It was really cool being able to dig into the technology to get a better understanding of how data is being used to build the world's most experienced driver, and it also answered a lot of my questions about the safety and the security of the tech, because that's extremely important to me. Given that Waymo just announced in February of this year that they are expanding testing into San Francisco, what? I hope that I can take another ride with a Waymo driver soon. I have driven in San Francisco many times. It gives me anxiety every single time. Have you ever driven in San Francisco? It's kind of scary. I would much rather let a Waymo driver do all the work instead of having to drive there myself. I don't like driving in San Francisco. This was such a fun partnership to work on, and I hope that you enjoyed learning more from Waymo. Comment below and let me know if you have any questions about the technology. And thanks again so much to my s'mores for subscribing and for watching. I'm Shannon Morse, and I will see you soon. Bye, y'all.